The hardest part about talking about the ear is that it's hard to see all the inside parts. There's a lot going on deep inside your head, and you can only see the outside part when you look at someone's head. So I scoured the web, and this is the best I could find, the most clear. So out here, just to give you perspective, I think this is the back of someone's head. This is their this would be their left ear, or maybe they are facing us, but it's symmetrical on either side, so it doesn't matter too much. But we just have a cross section of, this is the outside part, the outer ear, and that's the part you can see, obviously. And then there's the middle ear, which is, I'm probably not picking the best colors, but I'll try to highlight that. That's the middle ear, which leads to the inner ear. And all this is pretty uninteresting naming, but it's good to at least have the separation in your head, inner ear. So, if you go to clean the wax out of your ears, you're only getting about this far, and that's about halfway through the entire apparatus. So when sound comes in, sound waves, it comes in and then it goes down this hole, or the ear canal, and then this little thing, that is called the eardrum, which you've probably heard that term before, eardrum. And it's, drum is a good word to describe it, because if you think about what a drum is, it's, you have sort of a cylinder, and it has something tightly stretched across the top, and then when you hit the top, it creates the vibrations. But this is sort of the opposite, or the inverse of that vibrations come and hit it and cause it to vibrate. But just that it's something thin and kind of stretchy, stretched across something, that has the air approaching it. It makes it a good analogy. So the eardrum, I'll draw a better picture. It's, if that's the ear canal coming in from the outside, then the eardrum, well, you can see it there, but it's just a little thin membrane covering it over. And connected to the eardrum are a series of 3 bones that we can see right here. 1, 2, and then 3 is the little one, tiny one there. And they're just connected to the back. The first one, well, I'm just redrawing that, but it sort of swings up and has a bulge at the top. That's number 1. It's connected to this other one that I can maybe try to draw. Comes down like that. And then the third one is very, very tiny, and it just connects it to the next part, which is the beginning of the inner ear. So these 3 bones are commonly called the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. How do you spell stirrup? Stirrup. Something like that. It might have 2 R's. But the more, I guess, scientific name, if you actually take a anatomy class, would be malleus, which malleus kind of sounds like a mallet, leads you to hammer, incus, and stapes. And I'm probably not saying those right, but I might be close. But in normal conversation, you'll just hear hammer, anvil, and stirrup. And if you say them in that order, that's the order that they go from the inner ear, or from the outer ear inward. So H-A-S. And they're bones. If I didn't say that, they're little tiny bones, and they get shaken by the sound waves that come in. Right? I'm using too much purple now. But the sound waves come into your ear, and they shake the eardrum, so it gets some shaking going on, which shakes the first one and vibrates the second one and vibrates the third one all the way down until it gets to this big snail-looking thing. You can see it. My analogy is always a snail, because these things coming off the front look like the snail's eyes. And I guess I can attempt to draw it here, but they You know, he has a thick part of his body, and then the shell wraps around. It's not actually a snail, but then he has the head there, and sort of, you know, it's blocked in this picture, but it sort of looks like antennas. Actually, it's loops that sort of go something like that, and then back down. And this is called the cochlea, which again, cochlea. I don't think it has the first H. I think it's just cochlea. Again, look this up for the spelling if you really want to have it right. But this is filled with fluid, so I'll just use blue for fluid. And fluid conducts sound and vibration better than air does. So the whole point of this apparatus is sort of to turn the air vibrations into water vibrations. And then it's covered in little tiny hairs, not even like the hair on your arm, just tiny, tiny microscopic hairs all the way through this. And I'm going to zoom in on some of this. I'm just going to say, you know, this or this is what I'm zooming in on. We've got the wall of the thing over here. That's the outside of the cochlea. And then little tiny hairs. I should use green for the tiny hairs. Covering the walls, and the fluid is over here. So when you get a vibration coming in through all of this, you know, chain process from the outside, a dog barking or whatever it is, the vibration comes through pretty much well, it probably does get messed up, but you know, we recognize it at least, and it goes through, and then these little hairs, when they start to lay down, like when the vibration, you know, rather than a tiny, tiny vibration of air, when it gets down to this scale, it's like an ocean wave washing through, you know, back and forth, and the hair kind of ends up laying down, and then when the vibration goes the other way, it'll have to lay the other way a little bit. And all of this, you know, every time it lays down, I think is what causes the impulse from the nerve to go somewhere else. So each of these things has a nerve, and they all kind of conjoin. That's what this thing is. All the auditory nerve, well, it all goes into sort of one thing like that. Like the optic nerve, you know, it's a bunch of, it's like a bundle of nerves all leaving at once. So when these hairs get agitated, when they have to lay down and sway with the big ocean wave that the little sound has turned into, that's what sends the nerve impulse to the brain. Okay, I'll do these things up here now. The snail's antennae that I was talking about will now actually say what they are. To draw these, well, the whole point of these is about balance, or about figuring out which way your head is turned in 3 dimensions. So if we draw an axis here, this is the only way I can think of to draw it. This is the x-axis, the y-axis, z-axis. And then, this is really testing my drawing abilities. One of them will sort of loop around like this and make almost a circle. And then another one, I have to use 3 colors. Another one will loop around flat, like around the z-axis, I guess you could say. It would loop around like that and come back. And then the third one would be on the y-axis. It would be like that, and they would all go back to the body then, or back to the cochlea. So, and I don't know exactly how they're all joined up in there. They're probably somewhat cut off from each other. But the idea is in each one, I'll just draw one for the example, is in each of these there's fluid, but it's not completely full of fluid. It's like half full. And then, the hairs down here are agitated, but the hairs up here aren't. And so our body knows that gravity is pulling this way. And if, in another example, well, in the green one, maybe all of them would be agitated because you're standing straight up. If I can't think how to draw this better, but this ring is laying flat on the table. This one is against this wall. That one's against that wall. If you picture a corner of a box, that's what I was at least trying to draw. They're all 90 degrees from each other. So the blue one and the red one might tell you that you're standing straight up, or if the red one, if it's a little higher on this side, I'm picking the wrong color pretty consistently. If it's a little higher on this side and a little bit lower on this side, then your body could say, oh, well, I'm tilting to the right, or or I tilted my head to the right at least, according to my neck muscles. It's only my head that's off center. I hope I'm making this clear. It's the same technology as like gyroscopes and accelerometers and everything we use for technology to figure out what the tilt is or what the position is. It's just a little bit more primitive, but it evolved naturally, which is, I think, more amazing. And it's just water, because water always goes to the bottom of anything. So if you have water in a little circular tube, like a donut shape, then it's always going to go to the bottom. And then wherever you feel the water being, you know that that's what direction gravity is pulling. Because otherwise you wouldn't know, I guess. So you have these three little things, one for each axis, one for each direction that your head could possibly be tilting, and between the three of them, you can figure out where your head is. Hopefully I made that somewhat clear. So I think I've done pretty well on the anatomy of an ear. I guess I could say that I gotta pick a nice bright color. I already used blue, I used yellow. You see how this section kind of leads down into here? That's, actually I don't know how to say it. It's EU. I'll have to look up the word and update on a new video, but this is like when you get on an airplane and you can feel the pressure building up and then your ears pop. That's because this is like a little separate pocket of air that goes down above your nose and throat. And so the pressure outside goes down because you're going up in the air, and then the pressure inside stays the same, so you start to feel stress on your eardrum. And then you can release that by yawning or by opening, this little valve or whatever it is. And I think in the next video I'll just talk about how we hear where a sound is relative to us. But I think I'm done for the anatomy of the ear, so there you go.